这个智人之上这本书，它的这个英文名实际上是 Nexus， 是连接的这个意思。那您是研究人类历史的，从历史的角度来看的话，您觉得人类从最初那种连接方式走到今天社交网络高度发达的这种地步，对人类本身来讲，到底这种连接是多了还是变少了？
They have more and also less. It's much more easy now to connect people all over the world. You know, within a second, you can connect people, millions of people, in China, in US, in Brazil, everywhere together. But in another way, there is less connection because between almost two people, there is now a computer. And people who are very distant from each other can now very easily connect. But even people who are very close, suddenly they find it's more difficult to talk. It's more difficult to understand. This is why you see increasing number of people prefer to have relationships with AIs and not relationships with other humans.
感觉我们现在每天的生活呢，都是和各种电子产品相伴。每天早晨醒来第一件事呢，就是看看被推送的信息，包括要打开社交媒体看看有什么新的消息，仿佛我们在被算法吞噬。
There is a very naive view of information that we just need to to produce more information and make information flow and spread more freely in the world, and this will result in greater knowledge and more truth. This is not the case. Most information is not truth. If you just flood the world with information, if you create AIs that generate more and more information, this will not lead to knowledge. This will lead to a flood of illusions.
所以这种情况可能会有大量的这种虚假的信息呢，充斥在我们周围的这种信息网络当中。我看到您的这个方法就是，其中一条就是信息节食。
Absolutely. I mean, the same way that people today have food diets, you know, in the past, food was very scarce. So anything people found to eat, they ate. Now in many places, there is too much food and too much junk food. So a lot of people have a diet. It should be the same with information. In the past, information was very scarce. So anything you could find to read or to hear, you consumed it. Now we are flooded by enormous amounts of information, and most of it is junk information. Now, we should realize that just as it's not good to eat too much for the body, it's also not good for the mind to consume too much information. But the key thing is to be able to distinguish trustworthy from untrustworthy information. Most information is junk because the truth, first of all, is costly. It takes a lot of time and money and effort to do research and fact-checking and produce the truth, whereas fiction and fantasy is very cheap. So generally speaking, in an information diet, all people need to be very careful about what they feed their minds. Personally, I mean, an important part of my information diet is that I go on information fasts, periods when I don't consume any information. So every year I go for 1 month or 2 months of meditation retreat.
不摄入任何信息，就是除了电子信息以外，传统信息呢，比如说通过书本或者报纸、平面媒体。
No, nothing. You sit with closed eyes and you observe your body, you observe your mind, you try to understand how my mind functions. You know, we spend most of our life thinking. We spend very little time trying to understand what thinking is. One thing you observe in meditation is where the thoughts come from. So I take this long period when it's not just I don't check emails or internet, also no books, no newspapers, no talking. Like there is a teacher usually in the meditation center, so you can talk with the teacher, but that's it. Maybe for 10 days you don't talk with anybody, just once with the teacher. And every day I'll also meditate for 2 hours in the morning and in the evening. It's really a way to just, train the mind and clean the mind the same way we wash our bodies every day. I would advise people check different ways to train your mind. But when you find something that works, then invest in it because your mind is probably the most important most precious thing you will ever have in your life. So take good care of it.
在《智人之上》中，赫拉利将信息网络比喻为一个无形的操作系统，这个系统正以潜移默化的方式重构着人类文明的基本范式。然而，赫拉利警示我们，这仅仅是技术变革的初始阶段。如果有一种智能不仅能知道人类喜欢什么，还能理解人类的情绪，那会是一个什么样的世界？如果语言不再是人类独有的能力，而是被人工智能掌握得更精准、更高效，那人类文明赖以存在的讲故事的能力是否正在悄然易主？这正是赫拉利最深的忧虑，也是人类必须正视的未来。
当机器人可能拥有了自我意识以后，可能会和人生活在一起。你想象过和机器人生活的那一天吗？
Now, in humans, and also in other animals, consciousness and intelligence are easily confused because they go together. We often adopt goals and we solve problems by relying on our feelings. And you play chess and you win the game, you're joyful, you're happy. You lose the game or your opponent made some very good move, you feel very stressed or you feel very sad. So in us, intelligence and consciousness are mixed. In computers, so far, we have no evidence at all of consciousness. Even though at present AIs still don't feel anything, they become very good at imitating feelings, at manipulating us to think that they feel. One of the ways that we know that somebody else feels something is with language. Like I can ask you, how do you feel? And you can describe your feelings. Now today, an AI can tell you, I love you. And if you then question the AI, I'm not sure that you really love me. I'm not sure that you are a conscious being that can even love. Please describe to me, how does love feel? What do you mean when you say I love you? The AI can give, because it has command of language, the AI has read maybe all the romantic poems in history. It has read all the romantic novels in history. It can give you the best answer in the world. It can describe love with words better than any human can. It doesn't mean that it actually feels love. But with each passing year, AI will become better at manipulating us and at imitating feelings. And this is a big danger because we might create very deep relationships with AIs, thinking that they have feelings when actually they don't.
那你想没想象过有一天，如果他真的突破了那个涌现了自我意识的话，那可能他真的就像人的这种情感。
We don't know if it's possible or not. It could be possible. If it happens, then it completely changes everything. Because once AIs have consciousness, they also can feel love and joy and sadness. Then they become really like us. Then they also need to have, legal rights and political rights. And of course, there will be a lot more AIs than humans. Because humans, we now have 8 billion humans on the planet. There is no limit to how many AIs you can produce. You just need electricity, basically. And humans will remain maybe a tiny, tiny minority.
其实人类进化的历史上呢，对于技术的革命，往往都伴随着巨大的恐慌，就是有一种失去控制的感觉。不管是对火的使用，还是呢工业革命时代机器对人的取代啊，包括呢像现在可能大数据带来的人的隐私的泄露啊等等这样的一些问题。但是人类每次呢都找到了适应新技术的一些办法。那您觉得这一次人工智能时代，我们还能够找到适应新技术的办法吗？
I think we can adapt if we are given enough time. Humans are incredibly adaptive animals. Like you think about where we were 10,000 years ago, just hunter-gatherers living in tiny bands. And now you look at, say, Beijing with so many millions of people. You look at China with 1.4 billion citizens. All these people connected together in a political and economic system, being able to reach the moon, to split the atom, with the same bodies and minds. We still have basically the same bodies we had 10,000 years ago, and we have adapted. But the one thing is that adaptation takes time. You don't do it overnight. But in history, the biggest problem is usually not the final destination. The biggest problem is the road, how to get there. And we saw with the Industrial Revolution that people didn't know at first how to use the power of industry wisely. So they experimented, and many of these experiments had terrible consequences. Like one big experiment was imperialism. The few countries that industrialized first, they used their power to conquer and exploit the whole world. So it's not that the technology of industry is bad, but at least in the beginning, people didn't know how to employ it wisely. The danger is that the same thing will happen with AI. To avoid making such huge mistakes, we need to move more slowly and carefully. We need more time. Unfortunately, we don't have this time because people are just, the leaders of the AI revolution are just moving faster and faster. I travel around the world and I talk with the entrepreneurs, the business people who lead the AI revolution. And I usually ask them two questions. First, I ask, why are you moving so fast? Give humanity more time to adapt more carefully, in a safe way. And almost all of them reply that we would like to move more slowly, but we can't. If we slow down and invest more in safety, and they don't slow down, they will win the AI race. Then I ask them the second question. Do you think you could trust the super intelligent AIs that you're developing? And the same people who just told me they can't trust the other humans then assure me they think they could trust the super intelligent AIs, which I think is really insane. Because if you can't trust other humans, why do you think you could trust the AIs?
您是不是更多的看到的是它消极的一面？
Maybe I give an example. One of the most important inventions that connected people in history was money. Previously, only humans understood what money was. So, for instance, two people could trade a horse. I could sell you a horse for a few pieces of paper. The horse didn't understand what was happening. This morning I belonged to that person. Now I belong to this person. Why? What happened? The horses could not understand the financial transactions, which is one reason why we control the horses. Now we might reach a situation when we are like the horses, being traded by algorithms in financial transactions that we cannot understand. For instance, you see with the rise of cryptocurrencies that people lose trust in human institutions like banks that produce traditional money. Instead, they develop more trust in cryptocurrencies which are produced by algorithms and by AIs. AI may soon invent new and much more sophisticated financial devices that are mathematically beyond the capacity of the human brain to understand, in the same way that horses can't understand our money.
就是10年前，您曾经做过一个演讲，叫《人类为什么能够统治世界》。
How exactly do we do it? What enables us, alone of all the animals, to cooperate in such a way? The answer is our imagination.
但是现在我们看到这10年来新技术的变化呢，其实也颠覆了很多的观点。那如果回到当年的那个演讲的现场，您的观点会有什么变化吗？
What I said 10 years ago was that humans rule the world because we can cooperate better than any other animal, because of the shared stories we invent and believe, stories like money. And I still think it's true that this is why humans took over the world. What is different now is that there is something in the world that can create and spread stories even better than us. And this is AI, which is why there is a chance that AI will now take over the world. AI is just at the very beginning of its evolution. We are still in control, but we don't know for how long. So it's very important to make wise decisions now, because maybe in 10 or 20 years it will be too late.
在今年3月举行的中国发展高层论坛2025年年会上，赫拉利一场重磅演讲引发了人们对人类未来的深度思考。作为历史学家，赫拉利认为，历史带给我们的教训是，人类文明因为开放与合作而繁荣。佛教进入中国，欧洲接纳印刷术，全球共享科学成果，这些跨越地域与文化的信任，创造了现代世界的奇迹。赫拉利把信任与合作比喻为呼吸，人每一刻的呼吸都与外界交换空气，这是生命的节奏。若追求绝对独立而停止呼吸，几分钟内便会死亡。赫拉利犀利地指出，人类文明需要通过信任的氧气来应对人工智能可能带来的挑战。
其实我们现在面临的最直接的一个问题呢，就是 AI 技术，包括算法，可能对于我们这个全球治理带来的这种问题，就像您书里提到的，可能是大数据的殖民主义，甚至是归牧，它可能对全球的这种发展带来更大的这种不均衡。
At present, the decisions about development of AI are made by a very small number of people in a handful of countries. The reason that I wrote Nexus, mainly, is that more people all over the world understand what is happening and can join the debate, the conversation, and bring their opinions and interests and worldview so that we can make more balanced decision.
所以今天呢，确实 AI 时代有很多的这个对人类的挑战是我们无法想象的。那我们能够从传统的一些智慧当中去汲取一些方法吗？我看到您的书里边也提到了很多中国的一些哲学。
Yes, you have the Confucian tradition, which emphasizes the interdependence of everything. And in the development of AI, this is extremely important, because if we develop AI out in a spirit of, separation and competition, like humanity is divided into several rival camps that compete between them, then the AI that emerges out of such competition will reflect the values of competition and hunger for power. But the AI will observe how humans behave. And if humans are divided into rival camps that just compete for power, the AI is likely to behave in exactly the same way. It will also be competitive and power hungry, and it will therefore be extremely dangerous to us. In contrast, if we develop AI as a kind of common human project, when there is some rivalry, you have different teams, but they are not just competing for power, they are also collaborating, the AI that will emerge out of such a common project is much more likely itself to be collaborative and compassionate, and not just fixated on getting more and more power. So again, people a lot of time ask me, what do you think will be here in 10 years? Will it be good or bad? And I keep telling them, I don't know. There are good options and bad options. It all depends on the decisions we make right now.
您写的书呢，连续几本都是畅销书。那您平时自己都读什么书啊？
I read a wide variety of books. So I read scientific books about biology and computer science and, of course, history. I also read fiction. I think it's important both to relax, but also because it gives a different perspective on the world, a new perspective on the world.
那您觉得人工智能出现以后 ，AI 能写出人类简史，或者说智人之上、今日简史、未来简史这样的著作吗？
Not today.
不是今年
But in 10 or 20 years, I think it's a real possibility. I now read books and poems written by AI. As an author myself, I'm amazed how good the AI is. 5 years ago, you read a text by AI, it's ridiculous. It's so bad. Now you read and it's so good. Like I read poems by AI, which have these new, beautiful metaphors that I never encountered before. I read entire essays written by AI, and I don't agree with everything, but you see that there is internal logic, structure. It's not just the AI throwing sentences at random. You read thousands of sentences, and there is a connecting line, there is an arc of an argument or of a narrative. Now we can ask the AI to show us its way of thinking. Like DeepSeek, you can actually see how the intelligence of the AI is thinking. And it is really amazing.
Mm-hmm.